Welcome back, friends, to another episode of whatever the hell it is I'm doing with my life. I don't know what this show is. This is another one that's not actually inspired by comments. I'll probably get back to those. So do, in fact, leave comments about, whatever you want to know and things like that. I absolutely will talk about it. This is a very free-form show. There's no script, and I'm just kind of talking for a specific amount of time, usually about 30 minutes or so, about whatever the hell comes into my head. So, last time I talked about how, in a very roundabout way, I was friends with the neckbeards that I knew, and they were friends, and I didn't really go into, specific detail. I very specifically detailed a specific moment. I said specific about 6 times. That's a record, right? About hanging out with Elle, but dude was in fact one of my friends, and we were pretty close. We had a lot of stuff in common, but as you get older, you realize your tastes in media and your tastes in certain things are not a definition of, your personality. Recently I watched 1 or 2 full-length, at least an hour-long documentaries about King Cobra JFS, and there's more than one of those, which is interesting. Apparently, dude gets into all kinds of stuff, and the only thing I can figure is, listening to these documentaries, the shit that this dude gets into, the stuff he talks about, the way he talks, and all this other stuff is just holy shit, I knew these guys in high school. It's basically he's a guy I knew in high school, but he never fucking grew up. And it's just constantly that. There's a lot of pointless drama. There's a lot of weird emo goth stuff. It goes back and forth. And it's kind of nonsensical, It's just kind of okay. But holy shit, it's a weird time capsule from a completely different place. Also, if you look up the Wikipedia page on the town where he's from in Colorado, I think it's in Colorado, he's actually listed as one of the notable people there, which is kind of funny. But, whatever. Maybe someday I'll make enough money from this nonsensical YouTube shit that I do to make a pilgrimage there, and I'll hang out with him. We'll get drunk in front of 7-Eleven. Fuck it. First him and then Chris Chan. I don't know. Either way, we're talking about the neckbeards I knew and how I became friends with them and the positive side of knowing them. The last time we talked a little bit about Elle, but a lot of it was just because, we were friends in high school and we had a lot of stuff in common, specifically media and the things that we liked, music, movies, anime, so on and so forth. But it wasn't until I got older that, you start realizing that friendships need to be formed on more than just, hey, I also enjoy Evangelion and Gundam. That's not, a thing. You need more than that. So, it kind of fell apart. There were a lot of things that we had major fundamental differences over. Specifically, Elle was, really into this one girl who I thought was super bad for him because she was kind of a drug addict, and I warned him about that, but he didn't really give a shit, so it's just okay. And years later, we would have another conversation in which I told him that dating your friend's ex, not me, another friend we both knew, was a really bad idea, and then he did it anyway, and he and that friend had this huge falling out, and I was I don't know what to tell you, bro, that's a really bad thing. I don't, I can't pretend that this is okay. So, eventually we stopped talking because of things like that. It turns out our personalities were quite fundamentally different. And it turns out even if you're both fans of, Gundam Wing, it's not going to stop you from being hey, you probably shouldn't be sleeping with your friend's ex. So, it's a thing. But let's move on to another neckbeard in this particular episode, since we're just talking about that kind of stuff. I'll move on to Z, as I referred to him in a couple of stories, the guitar guy at your party. He was my first friend moving into this middle of nowhere fucking town that I live in now. I thought I lived in the middle of nowhere when I lived in Thibodaux. I was I was sorely mistaken. I learned that the hard way. We moved here and there was quite literally nothing here. And it wasn't until like maybe a year or so later that I actually met this dude. I remember a lot of weird memories about knowing this guy. And specifically where I lived at the time. This is probably one of the most dated statements I'm ever going to make, but I'm going to do it anyway. I had, for Christmas, around Christmas, I don't even remember what year it was. It had to be somewhere in the mid-2000s. My dad, my parents were divorced since I was very young, but my dad came over. And I had, good relationships with both of them, but my dad came over and he brought me some Christmas presents and he was like, no, you should open them now while we're here because, we're not going to be here for Christmas Day. And I was like, okay. So we did. And, my dad got me, I'll never forget this, two things. I have no idea where he found this, but it was this gray, pullover hoodie, and I hardly ever wear pullovers because I'm not a huge fan of them. If it's got a good enough design, I'll let it slide. But I don't know why this one was okay. So it was gray and it had like these weird, like very, very mid 2000s like wannabe kind of Japanese Chinese dragons drawn on it in like glitter paint and shit like that. So it was like very much like from some edgy boy shop, but I was like a weird edgy emo goth kid. Punk, whatever. It kind of all blended together around then. That was around the time that Chris Chan was like a big thing, so everything just didn't make any sense, so fuck it, whatever. It was like nothing made any fucking sense. You might as well just roll with it. And he got me the music player that would replace my CD player that could read MP3 CDs, because I would make those, which had like 200 tracks on them and shit like that. I spent like, I don't know, probably like $70 on that for one birthday, and I used the ever-loving fuck out of that thing. The thing was wicked. I don't know if a lot of people remember that, but there were like two different versions of CDs you could burn. You could burn like a regular CD or an MP3 CD, which was just the data, and only certain CD players could read MP3 CDs. That was like a thing. But yeah, no, I had one of those, and he got me a replacement for that. And if you're thinking like, oh, is it like an iPod or one of those things? Because it was like a new thing. No. It was a Sony Walkman. A Discman. It had the it had this Sony like fucking disc things that went in it. It was I still have it, if you can believe that. It's actually still in my office right now. But you would put these mini discs in there. It was like a Sony mini disc player, but it was like the next generation of the Walkman. It sucked. It was awful. It played music great, but then eventually like the hardware that made up the interface and how to fast forward, rewind, all that kind of shit started breaking down. I bought a bunch of mini discs. They were like a whole bunch of different colors. But in order to write to the machine, your batteries had to be like brand new, and if they weren't, it would cut off halfway through writing to it. All your music files had to be like a specific format, and yeah, it was a thing. But all of this nonsense, I know I'm going off on tangents, it's whatever, it's like setting stages for times and where I was. All of this nonsense was specifically based because around then I had become good friends with Z. And honestly, G-Man and his wife have far more stories about Z than I ever could. And someday I'll have them on this show because they are fantastic people. You guys would love them. They're fucking wonderful. But I was friends with him and his sister. And he, for some reason, hated his sister. I don't really understand why, but they had like this huge rivalry. I don't get it, but okay, whatever. They're like teenagers. They were a little younger than me. I was like maybe 21, 22, and he was like 19, 18, but she was younger than him, so like maybe like 16, 17. Anyway, I'm probably wrong if I'm giving you these numbers. I'm actually probably wrong, but like whatever. But I remember like after my dad gave me this stuff and he was like, "Oh, we got to go back to New Orleans, okay, Merry Christmas, all this." I remember telling him about it because we were like talking, and he was like, "Oh, it's so fucking cool," and like we hung out in the kind of like shared little road. There was like this little gravel road that connected my house with his. And it was a road technically according to the state, but it was more like a long ass driveway. But yeah, like we talked and he was just like, "That's super cool, man. It's like a disc and it, and we were like all about it. We just like hung out in the driveway. It was like freezing. A lot of my stories that involve, like my best memories that involve anything involve it being really fucking cold. Because winter is the best time and I enjoy winter the most. But, like, I remember hanging out in his driveway. Well, this little side road driveway thing, whatever. And he had this little pocket speaker thing. I think he got it for Christmas. I don't even remember. But it was, like, just a single speaker, and we'd plug it into the little, the Sony Discman thing. And we were listening to, like, whatever the fuck I put on there while sitting in this horrible gravel driveway that we shared. And he had this cat. Oh fuck! What was the name of that cat? I don't remember the name of the cat. It was something ridiculous. They found this cat because it like wandered onto their property. It was like a tiny kitten when they first found it, and the cat was like It was just like spasmatic. He would like jump out and like do all kinds of crazy shit. So he would like hide in the bushes whenever we'd walk down the driveway. And if you walked up like one way to get the mail, because all the mail was at like the top of the driveway, and you came back, the cat would like leap out of the bushes and like grab onto your leg. So we had these long ass pieces of I forget what kind of grass it was. It was some kind of grass, but it was long, and we were just like, the cat adored them and would just like slap at him and go crazy, and we were just like playing with the cat while listening to music, and it was like fucking 9:30 at night in December, so it's like freezing and it's dark, and we're just fucking with this cat, and there's like these, we lived in the middle of nowhere. It was just kind of a thing, and it's one of the many good memories I have of that, thing that we had as friends. It was like a good snapshot of where we were. We were pretty close. It wasn't like a huge thing, but like we were pretty close, and I thought we would be friends for a while. But again, as I said in the video about like my experiences with furries, my experiences with a lot of things, it's just I'm used to people kind of phasing in and out of my life. Definitely not so much lately. Definitely not so much since I started this channel. There's very much a thing where like the people who are involved and like really close to me kind of stick really close, and I don't really get that anymore, but at the time that was that was the thing. So yeah, like we were pretty close. He was still in school by the time I was already out, because I was a little older than him, but like whatever. I didn't have a lot of friends, and we were still pretty cool. I was only like maybe a year or two older than him, so it wasn't like a huge amount or anything. It wasn't like I was like 30 and he was like 16. Like, no, it wasn't anything like that. But like, yeah, like we would just kind of hang out from time to time and talk about shit. And he was kind of a spaz, but I was okay with it. This is like, I don't have a lot of friends. I'm cool, whatever. I could roll with things. I may not like a lot of things, but fuck it. Much in the same way that I've addressed the anime thing with a lot of the guys. I say guys, but like everybody, period. That's that colloquialism coming out. I mean everyone, gender, whatever, on the server who talk about things in the like the anime channel. I do have a Discord server. If you're not on there, you should check it out. But like, who are like in the whole anime channel and they're talking about whatever. It's just like, I don't understand any of it, but as long as it makes you guys happy, like I'm okay with it, Just like, I don't know what the fuck My Hero Academia is, but like, I'm real happy if it makes you guys happy. And also, if you're listening to this and you want to explain to me what it is, don't. I'm not gonna watch it. I promise you. I'm really not. I'm very much beyond doing so many things. I mostly just do whatever trash insanity comes into my mind these days, so I'm not gonna watch whatever anime, unless it's like super fucking weird, I probably won't see it. And even then, I'll probably forget. But yeah, like, no, I don't understand. I don't understand the youth. But I love you guys nonetheless, and I hope you're happy. And that's kind of how I was with Z. It's like, I don't understand half the shit that he's talking about when he goes in his anime tangents, but like, you know what? He's really into it. I don't know what Naruto is or why he likes it, but like, he was my friend, and if he likes it, it's like, well, okay, I don't get it, but I mean, fuck it, as long as you're happy. I don't know why that guy in the MC Hammer pants is mad at the dude with the emo haircut, but like, fuck it, I'm just... whatever, maybe it's just not for me to understand. That's okay. It's life. Life is like that sometimes, So, we had a lot of things in common. There were things that I didn't understand. There are things he tried to get me into and it didn't work. Like, he really, really tried on more than one occasion to get me to be really into, like, Kingdom Hearts like he was, and I didn't get it. I know a lot of people like it, but I'm just not one of them. I don't understand the anime and the Disney. Like, whatever. It's whatever. Personally, I think my rewrite of Kingdom Hearts as a Cajun story is 1,000 times better, but, like, Disney won't give me the rights to do that, and neither will Square Enix, so they can just fuck right off. So, anyway, look, I didn't really get it, but whatever, it was his thing, and it's fine. We were friends, and it was more about making that connection as friends that meant the most to me. But again, when you're young, you tend to, like, maybe not so much these days, actually. I'm not gonna go full generic statement on this. I'm gonna go with maybe it's different now that the internet has existed for more than 2 decades. Or more than 3. Or 5. Fuck. I don't even know when you're listening to this. It could be 1,000. But it is very much a thing where it's like, maybe this isn't really a thing when it comes to friendships. Because you have this access to all this better information, this better, advice and things like that. But when I was younger, we really didn't have that shit. Or we did, but we didn't know about it because the internet was kind of a thing and search engines were kind of weak, if you know what I'm saying. So, I didn't really vibe with everything, but I was just like, whatever, I'm gonna be cool with this dude because he gets, some of the stuff I'm into, I get some of the stuff he's into. Whatever, we're friends. But, again, much like I said with Elle, tastes in media are not specifically a good barometer on what is, an actual friendship. That's just taste in media. You can like a lot of things and still disagree with people. I use Evangelion as a big example for myself. I'm really into, like, Evangelion, giant robot, monster fights, things like that, and all this other stuff, but I'm very much aware that there's a whole other side of the fandom who is weirdly into the female pilots from this anime, but they are also teenagers, and it makes me uncomfortable on, like, a super fucking deep level, where I'm just like, no. So, I don't want all that, but I'm absolutely in this for the giant robots and weird Godzilla-like fights, but whenever they're just like, oh, but which one do you think is the hottest? Like, considering they're like, the oldest one is like 16, how about fucking none of them? How about fucking none of that, actually? Because, holy shit, dude, stop. I'm calling the police. Like, but, yeah, like, there is very much a thing where it's like you can be into something but be into it for all the completely different reasons than someone else. And that was a lot of, when it came to stuff with Z, it was very much like that. We were into a lot of the same things, but for completely different reasons. We liked anime, but completely different ones. We liked a lot of the same music, but for completely different reasons. I was really into, like, you know, older punk rock from, like, the 70s and 80s. And he was getting into that too, but specifically because, like, that was a thing his dad was into. I was into it because I was becoming a weird punk. And, you know, really got into stuff like Rancid, NoFX, Flocking Molly, Dropkick Murphys, things like that. And we learned to play guitar for two different reasons. I wanted to learn because, like, I really wanted to play the kind of songs from bands that I was super into, because it was just like, yeah, it sounds fucking wicked. I want to figure out how they do that. I want to do that kind of thing too. I like that. I specifically wanted an electric guitar for that, you know, that reason. So I could just be like, I want to learn how to play Don't Fear the Reaper and shit like that. Z, on the other hand, wanted a guitar because he was convinced it would get him laid. And I don't think that ever happened, but I know he tried on more than one occasion. He was the guitar guy at many parties. I was only witness for like one of two of them. One or two, not one of two. One of two sounds like a weird fucking video game achievement thing, doesn't it? So no, I was there for like one or two of these things. I think it was two, but it's also been a really long time. But I do remember that was very much a thing. He really wanted to, like, be the musician guy who would show up at, like, the, you know, the tailgate or the party or, like, you know, whatever, and he was, like, sensitive, so, like, girls would be really into him. But it was all, like, a fucking act. It was all a thing. Like, I knew who he really was, and who he really was, like, this scummy dude who really wanted to get laid. And that further drove a wedge between us, because I wanted to learn fucking wicked guitar solos and shit like that, because I wanted to play fucking crazy ass guitar solos. I wanted to be like this, you know, guitarist who could play like metal and punk and all this other kind of stuff. And that's what I was going to do before I started doing this. I wanted to be a musician. I'm obviously not very good at it, which is why I do this. And like, I don't know, man. I didn't fall into the same things that he did, because, like, he did all this shit in the idea that, like, girls would think he's hot. But I don't do anything on the idea of, like, other people thinking I'm attractive. Like, early into this channel, there's been one or two specific stories written about me that were, like, fan fictions, like Moonhorse erotic fan fictions, which I think are hilarious. I think they're funny. Sango hates them, by the way. She absolutely hates them. I think they're really funny. But, like, I also, you know, I'm also the same person who read, like, Sonichu and Hogwarts School for Prayer and Miracle, so I think all kinds of crazy shit is really funny. So I don't really get into this for the idea of, like, I'm gonna be famous and people think I'm hot. And it's like, no, I legitimately hide behind things so people don't know who I am, and I'm not doing this to be, like, fucking Markiplier or some shit. Like, no, dude, I read trash for a living. I think it's funny. So I got into all the stuff that I got into, which is something that Z also got into for completely different reasons. And that became more and more obvious as time went on. Like, we liked a lot of the same stuff, but for completely different reasons. And he would start getting really up his own ass. I remember specifically one of the moments that basically ended my friendship with him, because we had a lot of good moments, as I described earlier, where, like, you know, we'd hang out, listen to music, play video games, shit like this in the middle of the night. He was the one who exposed me to the WarioWare games. I never owned a GameCube, but, like, after we played one, I was just like, no, I should fucking own a GameCube. I still never owned a GameCube, but, like, you know, I really like those games. They're pretty weird, they're pretty fun, and I kind of enjoyed them. But yeah, no, like, the thing that really set us apart was, I remember specifically, he was supposed to meet this girl who was, like, coming over to his house for some kind of school project, and he wanted me to, like, bring him to the store, get some stuff, and then we went back, and I was like, okay, cool. Now, at this point, I was already living, like, on the other side of town, so I wasn't, like, near him or anything, but after we got stuff, I was like, okay, so I'll meet this girl, too. And literally my plan was, like, I'm gonna meet this person, Be like, oh yeah, my friend's kind of cool. Okay, cool. Well, you guys have fun, haha, and I'll get out of your hair. But, like, I was literally gonna be like, you know, hey, I'm gonna prop up my friend and be like, oh, he's a good dude. Because, again, I didn't know, you know, what makes a creep and all this other shit. I just thought he was a good dude. He wasn't, but, you know, I didn't know that. And this moment was kind of what set us apart, is he specifically told me after we got back, after getting the supplies that he needed for this project, that I needed to go. And I was like, oh, I was gonna, you know, meet this girl who you were, like, super crushing on and, like, put in a good word or whatever. And he was like, no, you just need to go. And I was like, okay, but, like, why, though? Like, I was actually gonna try to help you. And he basically said in no uncertain terms that he didn't want her to know that he associated with me, because apparently I'm embarrassing to him. And that kind of set me off, because I was just like, okay, well, fuck you then. That's a really shitty thing to say, and you're a really shitty person for saying that. So, you know, whatever. I hope your fucking advances on this girl fucking fail. And they did, because he was a creep. I'm actually really glad that I didn't try to, like, sell him up to this person. And I'm really glad that she didn't actually, you know, do anything more than basic schoolwork with this guy. Because it wasn't until after shit was over, it wasn't until after all this was over that I learned, I didn't realize, I learned, by talking to her and one of her friends, because, like, we ran into each other at the store, that, one, he was really creepy the entire time they were supposed to be working on this project, and two, he knew on more than one occasion that she already had a boyfriend and was intentionally trying to, like, split them up so he could hook up with her, which just, that's the biggest fucking dick move. That's just, what fucking assetry, dude. That is absolute bullshit. So, I'm really glad I didn't upsell this motherfucker. I'm really glad she found out exactly the kind of creep he is by his own actions. So, yeah, no, like, he managed to alienate not only this person who he was, like, super into at the time, but also one of his only friends, myself, by being an absolute fucking tool bag. So, yeah, no, he actually was just kind of that much of an asshole. And the stories I tell about him and the things that I say about him are completely based on the fact that, yes, in fact, he was that much of an asshole. So, you know, yeah. That's kind of my story of Z. It's very abridged. It's very, like, you know, leaving out specific details, but I don't want to make these super fucking long. Which I very much could, but, you know, it's also super late here and I need to go to bed. So, maybe I'll do more of these at another time. You know, we'll see what we can do. But, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'm sure that does something for YouTube these days. I don't fucking know what. YouTube is trash. But we don't have any alternatives, so, you know, here we are. Specifically, though, make sure you know, check out my merch store and my Ko-Fi, specifically because YouTube has decided they're going to put ads on everybody's videos, whether or not you're actually opted in for AdSense, thereby fucking over people who are trying to work without AdSense. Yes, that's a thing, and yes, they sent me an email about it, and I don't even fucking care if they get mad at me about it. YouTube can suck my dick. So, you know, it is what it is. If you have your own weird stories you want to send me, check out my subreddit, r/moonhorsestories. I am the only mod there, so it's me. No, I'm not the only mod. Or maybe I am. I don't remember. But either way, you can send me stuff there. And, you know, I hope you enjoyed this. This is a weird series that I'm working on. It's just kind of full of strange nonsense and weird nostalgia. And just random stories, so I'm hoping you're enjoying it. Somebody in the comments of one of the videos said that this is kind of like having a conversation with a friend, and, you know, I'm really glad that you feel that way. I love you guys. I say that at the end of every episode, but, like, I mean it. You guys really are awesome, and I love you all. So, you know, keep being awesome, and I'll see you in the next episode, okay? Goodbye, everybody.